Guys, what's going on? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. Well guys, today we're going to be doing a field strip and cleaning, a basic disassembly and cleaning of the Sig Sauer P320. Now this pistol is chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson. Just to answer a couple questions about the pistol right now. No, it has not had the trigger repair from Sig Sauer. It has not gone back yet for that drop safety repair. And no, it does not belong to me. One thing about that trigger real quick, if you happen to take your slide off and you notice a little bit of a difference in the trigger mechanism, it really won't affect the way that you disassemble or clean the pistol based off of this video. This pistol does belong to Stan, the owner of SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska. Guys, I want you to give SS Pawn a call. They've been longtime supporters of the channel, and Stan has loaned me this pistol out of his private collection for me to bring to you. Now, we'll be bringing it to you in a range test and also a tabletop review, and without the support of SS Pawn, we really won't be able to keep this channel rolling, so let's go ahead and give them a little bit of support too. Now, when it comes to cleanup of this pistol, it's a very simple procedure, guys. We're going to get by on the basics. First of all, you're going to want to get yourself a 40 cal bore snake if you don't have one. Unfortunately, I don't. I just have a 389mm 357 bore snake, which I'll be using, which isn't really going to affect it. It's just going to be a little bit small. So at some point, I'll probably take a cleaning rod and a brush down the barrel and get it scrubbed out after I make this video. Okay, you can also use some CLP. I like to use this on moving parts that come in contact, your barrel, your rails, inside of your slide, and so on. Some Q-tips to get in there and do some of that fine detail work. Okay, I also like to use a little bit of rem oil, which I tend to spray on the lower receiver. It makes it a little bit easier for me to clean without leaving a lot of residue on it or a big buildup or a thick buildup. It just leaves a nice sheen, protective finish on the lowers and the parts that I don't want to get super greasy or really lubricated. You've also got a basic cleaning rod you can use. Now, I've got a traditional cleaning rod that will allow you to screw in brushes and so on, but because I'll be using a bore snake, I'm not going to be using it for this one. So this is just a basic cleaning rod that came with the pistol. You can put a few cotton patches on it and use it to clean out certain nooks and crannies that you need to take care of on the pistol. No problems there. You also might want to get yourself a couple nylon brushes, just some gun cleaning brushes. They're about $3 or $4 at your local Walmart. Like I said before, the bore snake and some cleaning patches. Now you can get by with some cotton shirts that you cut up into various chunks, and that's a lot cheaper than buying patches, but I like to use the patches because it's just a little bit easier for you guys to see what I'm doing in the video once we're actually cleaning it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so disassembly of this pistol is really not much different than other semi-automatics that are out there that you might have used before. Go ahead and remove the magazine from the pistol, check the chamber, make sure it's empty, and it is. You cannot disassemble this pistol with the magazine in the pistol grip and the handle, okay, so you definitely want to make sure that you take the magazine out. Alright, so go ahead and pull back on the slide, lock it back into place with your slide stop. Alright, now just go ahead and pull down on this lever so that it locks all the way forward. It's going to go forward till it notches down right here where there's this little rainbow shape, this little crescent. Okay, then just go ahead and pull forward on the slide and just release. It'll come right off. Okay, now after that, disassembly is pretty basic. Just go ahead and pull out your guide rod and spring and set that off to the side. Go ahead and remove your barrel, and we will go from there. Okay guys, so the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and just spray a little bit of rem oil on the lower, okay? And go ahead and get yourself a little bit of rem oil on a patch on a cleaning rod. And if you don't have a cleaning rod, that's fine. You don't have to do this. Go ahead and wipe out the magazine well. You might be surprised with the kind of dirt and grime and grit and powder residue that can actually build up on the inside of the handle, the grip of the pistol, right? Again, you don't want excessive lubrication ever, just enough to basically get the gun clean. You want it nice and shiny, and that's it. So there's a little bit of crud that came out on that. Okay, then what you can do next is go ahead and just take a pad and just a cleaning patch here and just go ahead and wipe out the internal components. You don't want anything excessively lubricated. The last thing we want to do is have a pistol that's going to lock up in the wintertime because it's got frozen lubricant. Highly unlikely, but it can happen. Or something that's going to attract a lot of grime and dirt and so on. Okay, so no problems there. Okay guys, real quick addition to this video. I did an early showing of this video to my Patreon fans over on patreon.com. And one of the viewers pointed out the fact that I forgot to remove the modular chassis. You can actually take out the trigger group for easier cleaning. I completely forgot about that on this pistol. So when you have this kind of a situation where it's been disassembled, all you have to do is put a little bit of pressure on this little takedown pin right here. And the pin will basically just pull right out. Okay, you're not going to break anything. Don't worry about it. I just go ahead and give a little tug on the front of the chassis, and you can basically take the entire trigger group right out. So technically and legally, this is the firearm right here. So you can get a variety of lowers for this pistol if you want to go with like a large frame or a small frame, etc. So we'll go ahead and just give it a little wipe down with some Rem oil. Now you're going to want to check the manual for specific lubrication points, but we're just talking about a general cleaning just to get off the dirt and the grime. And this thing is in immaculate condition. Again, I don't know how much it was actually shot beforehand. It might have even only had the test firing before I fired it. I'm really not sure because it wasn't really dirty. But again, essentially this is your serialized firearm right here. Okay, so now once we get that all done, we get it all wiped off. Let's go ahead and drop that trigger pack back in. It's just going to fit right in. Might take just a little bit of finagling to get it to go. Okay, there we go. Let's see, I think we have a little pin here that needs to go. Okay, kind of push it back in, it'll go right back into place. There we go. Okay, again, everything should just snap right in and look like exactly how it is before you took it apart. Okay, go ahead and take your pin, and you know you've got it lined up correctly because you can see all the way through with nothing blocking your hole for this takedown pin or takedown lever, whatever you want to call it. Okay, you want to go ahead and just push that back across right here. Snap it back into place. All right, again, we just push it across the lock and so you can see how it's going to properly go. And this is how you want to leave it when you put the gun back together. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and take you back into the video now, back to the point where we were cleaning off the lower. Just so you know, you can take out that trigger group. All right, here we go. All right, looks good, looks good. Okay, and again, this pistol barely looks like it's been fired. It was not brand new. It has been fired before. It was fired before I cleaned it, but I see very little buildup powder and residue. You can really see how shiny the internals are on that, which is cool. All right, let's go ahead and set that off to the side. Okay, now let's go ahead and move on to the your upper or your slide and your barrel and your guide rod and your spring, right? Now this is a captive guide rod spring system, which means that you don't have to worry about the spring popping off at you, which is a little bit different from some of the other SIGs that I've seen before. A few of the other SIGs that I've actually used, your 228, your 220, they've got a non-captive guide rod spring combo. Again, just a little bit of Rem oil on that there. So what that means is you have to be careful when you take the guide rod spring out. Not a problem with this pistol. Okay, much more modern design. As we know, this is one of the newer designs to come from Sig Sauer. Okay, go ahead and set your cleaning rod and your guide rod and your spring off to the side. I always do that. I always call it a cleaning rod. Now for the inside of the slide, we're actually going to hit it with a little bit of CLP. Just go ahead and spray a few gobs in there and go ahead and just start wiping it off. Now again, we'll take a Q-tip to this too. Again, this is going to help get all that powder and all that residue out of there. You can see how dirty that is already. Keep using your patches. Again, you can use, again, a cut up cotton t-shirt if you want to. Doesn't really matter. You just want to kind of wipe it off a little bit until you have a clean patch come out more or less. Not as really hard to do that, but with enough scrubbing and a little bit of time, you can usually get that taken care of with no issues. One thing that I also like to do is to take a patch and go ahead and just get in the hole where the barrel goes through, because you can sometimes get a buildup in there. Okay, you can also get a buildup in here too, where your guide rod and your spring goes. So you can just use your cleaning rod to do that, or anything that you want to use. Q-tips are fine too, no problems there. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and clean that off. All right, no problems there. I also like to take a brush and hit the front of the face here where your striker comes out, your firing pin, because you will start to get a buildup of some carbon on that. You don't want excessive lubrication on that. In fact, we're just going to spray some Rem oil on a brush here and then just go ahead and lightly brush the front of the face. Again, the last thing you want to do is get a bunch of excessive lubrication in that slide. That's what you don't want. Kind of cut at an angle here, scrub at an angle so you hit the extractor and so on. Okay, so got that all taken care of. Push that off to the side. Now we want to go ahead and just wipe off that excess with the patch. Again, these are very, very easy pistols to clean and maintain. It doesn't have to be very complicated at all. Very simple. Okay, and you can see how much actually came off on there. It's nice and shiny. Okay, it looks much better now. You can hit this a couple times, and again, the more you clean this, the easier it's going to be in the future. You almost have like a protective glaze going on. That's going to make the pistol so much simpler when it comes time to disassemble and clean and so on. Okay, now what I'm going to go ahead and do is take a clean patch, just put a couple little drops of CLP on here. Okay, we don't want to go too crazy, just enough to wipe out the inside of the slide so you can see a protective coating in there. Again, this will help lubricate any parts that come in contact with metal, and it'll also protect the metal at the same time, which is always good. All right, there we go. Go ahead and hit that striker face just real quick, One final scrub on there. Not bad. Okay. And again, if you keep having lots and lots of crud and carbon come off, just keep cleaning it. Go over it a couple times, and before you know it, it's going to be all clean and ready to go. Now, go ahead and take a Q-tip and just put a little bit of CLP on it. What we want to do is go ahead and run some CLP down these tracks where your rails are on your lower that are going to ride in the slide. This will give it just proper lubrication that it needs to function. You can also put a single drop of oil and just run it down the sides if you want to. It'll basically have the same effect. You can also use that Q-tip to kind of get in there. There's really not a lot of fine crevices. That's one thing I do appreciate about this pistol. Unlike a lot of guns that have like a channel that you always have to scrub out because you get a lot of a buildup in it, the P320 slide does not have that. It's a very modular, just not really modular, but just very blockish design, which I do appreciate, especially somebody that does a lot of cleaning of firearms. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is go ahead and spray a little bit of CLP down the barrel. We want to go ahead and marinate the barrel, as I like to call it. There we go. Just let that run down there. Now I know we're going to run the bore brush through it, but until we get there, we need to go ahead and make sure you got a layer in there that's starting to break down any carbon deposits, any spent powder, brass, etc., any copper, anything that's made its way down into that channel. Okay, go ahead and spray a little bit of CLP on the outside and just coat the barrel. Really want to watch it up here in these notches. These really start to get a buildup going on, which you have to be careful of. The feed ramp also. But again, the more you do this, the easier it's going to get as time goes on. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take our nylon brush here, and we'll go ahead and just brush off the rear, the upper part of your barrel. Okay, where the rounds feed into the barrel. Scrub that a little bit. Okay, go ahead and scrub off the feeding ramp. Okay, no problems there. You can always use a smaller brush if you want to also for some fine detail work. There we go. Now again, there's a lot of lubrication on this. I'm not going to leave it obviously this lubricated. You want to make sure it's just enough to have a protective glaze. Okay, I tend to use a little bit of excess on it because I'm really doing a deep clean here. Scrubbing it, getting all the crud off the parts, off all the components. And again, you know, some guys just like to do a quick, you know, bore through the barrel or just a cleaning rod through the barrel and they're done. And that's perfectly fine too. You clean your gun however you want to. Well, that's a very nice finish on that barrel. I'm impressed. Good metallurgy there. Excellent finish on there. Very cool. Very cool. Now we're just about done. Now the next thing we want to do is go ahead and take our bore snake. Now we're going to run the bore snake through it dry initially, and that's just because you've already got lubricant in here, so you don't have to put lubricant on the bore snake just yet. So let's go ahead and just drop that down the barrel. I'd say run it through 2 or 3 times and you're going to be all set. And what happens is you've got inches and inches of cleaning fibers that are going to be coming in contact with the barrel. Let's go ahead and pull it through. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just pull this through 2 times. Now I do not have a 40 caliber bore brush. You can get a 40 caliber one if you want to. Unfortunately, so it's not going to give me the exact bristle clean that I need on the barrel. But that's okay because it does a pretty decent job out of the start. We'll go ahead and take a look at that barrel. If you guys can see that, let's get that in focus for you. You can see your lands and grooves that are in there. Your rifling. Okay. All right, she looks good to go. Again, get yourself a 40. I don't have one because I don't have a 40 caliber pistol. So again, I'm just using the 9, but I will go ahead and use a traditional cleaning rod later on with the brush and all that fun stuff and give it a good scrubbing. But this will get you by for right now. All right, again, that's probably an error I should have corrected early on. I apologize for that. We'll go back and fix that later. Okay, so now we got this all taken care of. Okay, now what we want to do is just make sure that you have just a light glaze of lubricant on that barrel. We're going to go ahead and begin the assembly procedure. Okay, here we go. Just go ahead and wipe it all off. Make sure it's got a little bit of a coating. You want to make sure you get down in this lug also underneath. You might get a buildup in there too. Get nothing too crazy. Now this pistol will be cleaned again after I take it to the range and break it in with my range test. Okay, go and drop your barrel back in there. Okay, and then go ahead and take your recoil spring and your guide rod here. God, I keep wanting to call it a cleaning rod. It's a bad habit I have in my videos. You just want to push in on it. It'll just lock into place, so it should be nice and flat. It should look just like that. You guys are good to go. Okay, takes care of that. Okay, now we'll go ahead and continue with reassembly, and we will go from there. Okay guys, so reassembly is relatively simple. All you got to do is go ahead and take your lower, take your slide, put it back up on the top. Go ahead and make sure that the rails and the tracks all fit together. Go ahead and give a little flick on that takedown lever. It'll flick back up. Sometimes it'll go up automatically if you put it on at the right angle. If not, you can flick it up with your index finger. Now before you can test it to dry fire it, go ahead and lock the pistol back like this. Take your magazine, again make sure that it's empty, make sure that the chamber is empty. Go ahead and use your slide stop or slide release to release the slide. There you go. Go ahead and test to dry fire. There you go. Make sure the slide lock's open and you are good to go. All right, let's have a final few words about the cleanup and then we'll wrap this one up. Alright guys, so I'm looking forward to taking this pistol out. It's very simple to disassemble and clean it, and again, this is just how I do it. You might do it a little bit differently, and that's perfectly okay too. You know, when it comes to a gun like this, if you want something easy to operate without too many complicated mechanisms and so on, the P320 would be a good choice. It cleans up nicely, it's very simple to clean up, and it should not be an issue. So I'm looking forward to range testing it, and I think that's about it guys. So go ahead and leave any comments down below if you have any special methods that you'd like to follow when it comes to cleaning your pistols. I know some guys just simply don't clean them, or they clean them very little, and that's certainly fine too. If that's how you want to run your guns, you go right ahead. But anyway guys, please like or subscribe. You can check me out over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also over on VidMe. My channel name is Travis P11. And guys, I think that's about it. So we're going to be bringing you a range test and a tabletop review. We're going to put a few rounds through this bad boy and see how she runs. And I think that's pretty much it. So guys, I want to thank you for joining me today. I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right guys, take care. Bye-bye.